Laura A. Grace here, the author of Dear Author, Letters from a Bookish Fangirl, Team Lines of Poetry Collection, and Finding God Anime Devotional for Otakus, which is free on a variety of platforms. I'll leave a link down below in case if you'd like to check it out. Happy Friday, my friends! It is day 17 of the 25 days of manga, and I'm just so excited for this video, mainly because we have, I think, 1 week left in the 25 days of manga, and I was like, you know what? I want to go through my bookcase and I want to read the manga where I only have one volume in that series to see, do I want to keep reading this series, or do I want to donate this copy or try and sell it? Like, what do I want to do? Because some of these titles have been on my shelf for like all year, and I'm like, I really want to know, do I still want to read this or not? And so, starting with that, I decided to kick off this new idea thing that I had that randomly came across my mind. I said reading the volumes that I have of just one volume. And the kickoff here was I Swear I Won't Bother You Again, the manga, not the light novel. I've heard, anyway, that's a ramble that I will catch on in just a minute. But yes, I Swear I Won't Bother You Again. Oh my goodness, look at this cover. I have to confess that this was sort of a little bit of a cover buy. Back in June of this year, I did a manga shopping video. It was around the time that Finding God in Anime released, and so I went to try on a two-minute time limit, there we go, finding the manga of the anime that were mentioned in this. And when I was there, I picked up this volume because my friend Selwan at Shoujo Selwan on Instagram had shared about this, and I just am only now getting around to actually reading it. And oh my goodness, I just can't believe I let this sit on my shelf for so long. It was so good. And I'm just like, Laura, what were you doing? What were you doing? Reading other manga. But anyway, if you're not familiar with I Swear I Won't Bother You Again, it's about our main girl here. Her name is Violetta. I think it's how you say her name. She is the daughter of a noble family, and the thing is, her father ends up leaving her mother and has, like, for his mistress, and they end up having a child. He comes back to the castle to her family. Her mother has died, or is dead, I guess I should say. And Mary June, who is her half sister, is like the new thing, I guess, in a way. I won't say the new thing, but Mary June comes in. Violetta does not like Mary June, and so in a like fit of jealousy or rage, it was more jealousy than rage, she tries to kill Mary June and ends up being thrown in prison because she tried to kill her half-sister. While she's in prison, and she doesn't die, but while she's in prison, she is saying that she wished she could do things differently, and lo and behold, she gets a second chance, and time rewinds back 1 year to the same day. Well, yeah, I think it was like basically the same day that Mary June arrives at the house. It's sort of like her debut, and Violetta is in a situation now where she can have a second chance. She can decide to react to situations, treat Mary June differently should she want to, and that is the whole scenario of this manga and where it begins. Oh, but silly me, I forgot the biggest thing. So the thing is Violetta is like, okay, I want to make different choices, different decisions, and I'm gonna just try and stay away from Mary June. And she decides she wants to be a nun because then nobody would bother her and she would never see Mary June. Therefore, she wouldn't accidentally make the same choices and go back to prison again. But she's like attracting all the wrong attention. Like, the more she tries not to have eyes on her, the more people's eyes are on her. So that has a good like humor aspect to it. That is what this manga is about, and it was so wonderful. Now, I want to mention, this is the manga, like I said. There is a light novel that's being published by Seven Seas. Now, I'm going to give a warning. The light novel I heard is very different than the manga. Violetta's story, her backstory, is much more dark. Like, we don't get much of her backstory in this one. Like, you get some inkling of it, but I hear that in the light novel, it's very, very intense, and that like, supposedly this was supposed to be like a rom-com, but it wasn't in the light novel at all. So I just want to give that like fair warning. If you're like, oh, I'm gonna get the light novel and the manga, that the light novel is darker than the manga. Now, I actually appreciated that this manga was so light. I feel like that was majority of like the lower ratings on Goodreads and even on Amazon, that people who had read the light novel wanted more of, I'm not gonna say that darker overtone, they wanted more of a true adaptation of the things that were going on in the light novel. Because I guess when it comes to, while this isn't like a reincarnated like into a villainous kind of trope, it hits those beats a little bit. And so the light novel was very distinct and unique because it may have hit those beats, but there was still that darker overtone of how horrible Violetta's story is. And I'm hoping that the manga doesn't exactly follow the light novel, because I found a spoiler about one of my like one of the characters I like, and I was like, no, do not do this to this character. Like, please, like, make it lighter. I don't care. Like, just don't do this to that character. Please don't. Please, please, please don't. So anyway, I just wanted to give that caveat because that is just something I felt like it was important to note. But yes, I love the lighter themes, or not lighter themes. I love the lighter tone of this manga. It's beautifully drawn. I feel like the manga itself, here we go, right here. This is a perfect one. And I just loved it. I love the lighter tones and I love the lighter, I guess the lighter feel, not the tones, but it just was very airy. And like I said, the art was beautifully drawn all the way through and just was really engaged. I feel like this is a really interesting, like I said, villainous kind of trope thing, because I think it's like sort of put in with that reincarnate as a villainous trope, but it's time travel. And I really actually enjoyed that a lot. And I feel like when I picked up this volume, not only was it more of like a cover buy, but around that time, I can distinctly remember like, hey, I'm really curious about like this villainous stuff that's going on and wanting to read it, but for whatever reason, I didn't feel like gung-ho about it. So I picked up this one instead. And I sort of like the time travel a little bit, to be honest, because, you know, when you have the reincarnated villainous trope, usually it's a normal person that's going into the person that was evil, and they're sort of trying to redeem that person through their own actions because it's a new person. So you have, I feel like, sometimes a mashup of things that are going on where like the main character's trying to maybe remember the memories of the villainous, or they're trying to just fix things quite often. And then there's some confusion of when, you know, the villainous makes like new decisions that were not normal before the reincarnation happened. So you have all of that going on, but in this time travel, Violetta is still herself. Like, that was the most interesting and intriguing thing to me, because there is no kind of redeeming here. Yes, I think like Seven Seas even markets this as like she's trying not to go down the villainous route. But the thing is I feel like why I say like there's no kind of like redemption kind of thing is because Violetta still doesn't like Mary June. Like, even after everything has happened and she comes back and, you know, a year earlier, she's not like, oh man, I need to be best friends with Mary June and we need to make up and things will be perfect. Like, she's not like that. And I liked that. I know I just repeated like twice, but I thought that was very fascinating. So I feel like Violetta is who she is even before. It's just that she genuinely is in a position where she'll have the memories come back of what she used to do. Like, say, for example, like bullying, like she remembers how she bullied Mary Jane and she's like, like that was pretty bad that I did back then, and decides to make a choice. She's not going to do that. Not necessarily because she likes Mary June though. And I just liked that. I keep repeating myself, but I just found that very, very fascinating because I don't know, I guess based off of what I have read in this genre, so to speak, there's always that trying to be maybe not buddy, but that, like I said, that redemption arc of like, we're trying to make things better. But as the title says, I mean, Violetta's like, I swear I won't bother you again. And that really is a perfect title for this whole story. Now, this is a reverse harem. I'm a little bit on the fence because I know there's two potential candidates, two that I know of. There's a possible third. I don't know. I like the third possible. I'm not going to say who it is, but I liked them. But I'm just like, no, No, like we have Prince Claudia, who is the prince, and he is supposed to be with Mary June, and because things are different, things are happening differently, which I also enjoyed because, yeah, I feel like this manga shows that, when based off decisions you make, obviously we don't have time travel, but based off of the decisions that you make, that it's going to affect people differently and that they can make different decisions than what we think. And talking about decision making, there was a review that I didn't even think about that I just felt was very good, just very good, because they talked about how Violetta was very angry, and her anger and her jealousy is what fueled her to try and kill Mary June in the first place and gets her into prison. And this manga shows what anger can do. And also when we think through our actions before we actually make those actions, so we think through what we want to do and think about the outcome, that is good. That it is good to think about our choices that we want to make and think about how it could affect the people around us. Not just because, we don't want to be a bad guy, so to speak, but just that it affects the people around us. And I really love that theme. And I didn't think about how the anger and how Violetta has to deal with the anger that she had in the past, because she mentions that, if she's not careful, she could fall right back into it. Like, it's not like she's this perfect goody two shoes. She's genuinely trying to just do things differently, and it's hard. And so I really, I guess, enjoyed how that is emphasized, that this isn't easy, that she's not this totally different person, even with the second chance, and that how she's thinking about her choices and how it will affect the people around her. I feel like I got in a ramble there. We were talking about Prince Claudia, and I don't remember what we were saying with him, but I did not love his character. I genuinely feel like he's going to have a change of heart at some point. Like, I feel like that would just be expected. That's part of like the trope, I feel a little bit, but I'm just not on board. He's not necessarily a bad character, but I know the person I want to win this love triangle or whatever it is Yulan. Yulan's the best friend, and oh my goodness, I love Yulan. I loved him from the first time we met him, and I'm so glad that Violetta is seeing things about her friendship with him that she did not see a year before, and just how she's treating him differently and how she's appreciating his friendship and how he is there for her. And I'm just like, yes, like, please let this be a childhood best friends to lovers kind of thing. And if it's not, I am okay with this, okay? But I don't want her to get with Prince Claudia. Like, that is the one thing. Like, it's Yulan or it's no one. But I feel like, how if this is like a reverse harem, she's got to end up with somebody. And I'm like, well, Yulan would be the best choice. He really would. And speaking of Yulan, this was pretty interesting. So like I said, this was originally a light novel. I don't know if I said that, but this was originally a light novel. And it included a bonus short story, which is a novel. Well, a short story. It's not in manga form. Really, really short. But that was really interesting. I have never seen that in a manga before, where we got a short story. Not like a short story in manga form, but just a short story. Oh, let me show you guys one of my favorite page panels here. Look at this. So this is when she's sort of like having we'll just say a shoujo moment, your classic shoujo moment, and the nun in her is like, no, what are you doing? And I just thought it was so cute. It was great though. It was such a great story, and I'm just like I said before, like, why did I leave this on my shelf for so long? But I am 100% here for it. I want to continue this series. I definitely would have to get my hands on volume 2, and after I get it, I want to go ahead and pre-order volume 3, because I think that comes out in February, and then also volume 4, which I saw is up for pre-order in September, I believe, because it was just a light and refreshing story. I really enjoyed all of the characters and a little bit of I feel like a little bit of mystery, because you don't know a lot about the characters. I mean, you do, but you don't know like the in-depth backstory of each one. But Yulan, he had a moment that I was shocked. I don't think I can show it because it would be spoilers, but I was like, dude, don't cross this guy. Like, don't cross this guy, because he just had, yep, it's a spoiler. So he just had this panel that was like, no, we're not gonna mess with Yulan. And Prince Claudia, I feel like, is still in the shock of like, what is this? A woman denied me? No, no, he's not like a like playboy or like everybody is like, I feel like a lot of girls are attracted to him, but he's not playing anybody. And speaking of playing, I don't think he's a player, but he made a minor scene. There's another prince that shows up. I don't know if I can share a picture of him either, but I loved him. He plays like a really, really minor role. And I'm just like, dude, I really like you. His style was so good. It was very different from everybody else. I feel like this is definitely more of a like European themed French tones kind of manga, which is really nice. I enjoyed that because I don't have many titles that have that overtone to it. And it was great. It was so great. It was so great. I think this is all that I want to ramble about this. It's so good. I highly recommend it. It was just a very easygoing story with a little bit of a unique twist and a unique elements to the reincarnate as a villainous trope. And the characters are awesome. And I'm not a huge fan of reverse harems, but I'm sort of here for this one if Yulan is the winner. I cannot wait for volume 3 because Yulan is on the cover. I was like, why didn't we have him before Prince Claudia? But whatever. But let me know, have you guys read I Swear I Won't Bother You Again? Do you like the reincarnate as a villainous trope? Do you like reading light novels? Have you read the light novel of this? I would love to hear from you, friends. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And thanks so much for watching. Bye!